Our next speaker is the Associate Professor in Public Health at the University of New South Wales. Dr. Melissa Haswell-Elkins has, I'm sure, some very interesting insights on the health risks and a mounting body of evidence and adverse scientific studies from CSG mining activities. She's a health expert that understands the risks of CSG mining and is here today on behalf of Doctors for the Environment. Please welcome Dr. Melissa Haswell-Elkins.
Hello everyone. I'd like to say thank you very much to the organisers of this rally for enabling us all to come together and express our concerns about coal seam gas mining, not only here in Campbelltown and Illawarra in Western Sydney, but also across New South Wales and beyond. Before going further, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet and give thanks for our warm welcome from Lyle. And the welcome to country, and also to pay my respects to elders past and present and those emerging. Aboriginal people have thrived across Australia for some 60,000 years and remind us of our responsibility to care for the land and hence each other and future generations in exchange for the privilege of belonging to this great country. As Len said, I am from the Doctors for the Environment Australia, which I may refer to as the DEA. To clarify our position as an organisation, I quote from our overall aim. We aim to use our scientific and medical skills to educate governments and industry, the public and our colleagues in the endeavour to highlight the medical importance of our natural environment. We try to provide a role model in the care for the environment, for this is a part of a preventative health ethos. The DEA is grateful for the chance to speak today because we recognize that coal seam gas and other unconventional gas mining poses significant health risks and concerns. And I'd like to acknowledge the community groups and all the people on Facebook and online that actually make our job easier by posting information that's gathered from their research. In the next few minutes, I think it's already been discussed a little bit, but I'll also highlight some of the concerns that we have in terms of coal seam gas mining. There's also an overall concern that we have, as has been mentioned, that some of the essential requirements we recognize for scientific evaluation of potential health risks associated with CSG have not been fulfilled. In other words, the safety of this activities has not been proven. Our main risks and concerns fall into four main areas, which represent basic building blocks for good health. Without the security of these, we cannot have good health into the future. These are water and food security, strong and resilient mental health and community well-being, air quality, and climate stability. I'll briefly touch on our concerns. First, we're concerned that CSG poses two types of risks for human health regarding water and consequently food security. One is contamination, as we've heard quite a bit about already, and the second is regarding the quantity of water, ensuring that we have enough water to meet our future needs sufficiently into the future. We're concerned about the toxicological properties of the cocktails of chemicals introduced into the environment through the hydrofracturing process. These include chemicals that, when exposure is at sufficient levels to the human population, they interfere with our body's regulatory pathways. You might have heard about endocrine disrupting chemicals. Also chemicals that damage various organs like the liver and kidney and the lungs, as well as irritation and sensitizers that can cause sometimes very severe skin reactions, which we've heard is occurring already in Tara. One of the things that makes it very difficult for us to say there are proven connections between coal seam gas mining and some of these activities is the lack of sufficient rigorous analysis studies to actually link them together. At present, that is lacking. Along with concerns about the hydrofracturing chemicals, we also have concerns about the many thousands of produced water, of liters, released from the coal seams that naturally carry a variety of human, animal, and plant toxins. concern, particularly for farmers, is the large quantity of salt, since soil salinity is already a major agricultural concern for our community. We're concerned about the fact that accidents that release this water and any contaminants it contains can and do happen. These have occurred in Colorado. Can you hear me? Okay. Germany, and in our own Gilligan Forest in the New South Wales. Thank you. They can also be severe. Spills can be severe. Just last Thursday, a major spill occurred in Wyoming County in Pennsylvania that, according to news reports, involved 227,000 liters, or about gallons, or about 860,000 liters of spilled contaminated water. And that's what was actually collected, retrieved from the site. And remembering that some of the contaminants are toxic in very, very tiny quantities. We're also concerned about the enormous quantities of water that the ground is losing, being extracted from the ground, and their impact on our future capacity to utilize this water to meet our basic needs. In addition, thank you. We're also concerned, I was talking about the extraction of such vast quantities from the ground, and concerns about their impact on future capacity to utilize this water to meet our basic needs. In addition, there are concerns that the hydrofracturing process may cause both structural damage and altered water flows from our aquifers, leading to degradation and a loss of security of the supply. The health of our aquifers and groundwater, which supplies a majority of our water resources, are already a grave concern. The drilling, dewatering, and hydrofracturing processes involved in CSG production obviously raise more concerns to what is already a major concern for Australia's sustainable water supplies. Food security obviously depends on accessible and clean fresh water for growing, as well as, of course, land availability and soil health. Hence, what I've just highlighted also poses concern for food security. The next area that the DEA is concerned about is loss of mental health and individual and community well-being, which we've also heard about. We're accustomed to considering chronic emotional distress as something we just bear with and not a real risk to our health like physical concerns. However, mental health disorders like anxiety and depression are very serious, affecting some 3.2 million Australians each year. As our Australian Institute of Health and Welfare states, the burden of disease and injury in Australia study indicate that mental disorders constitute the leading cause of disability burden in Australia, accounting for an estimated 24% of the total years lost to disability. That is very, very major. And furthermore, in the estimates of disease burden for 2010, the AIHW also told us that mental disorders account for about 1/2 of the burden in young people. These are health concerns. They're not just uncomfortable. So what causes mental health problems? Many people aren't fully clear, so I'll just quote again from the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare. They say, a diverse range of social, environmental, biological, and psychological factors can impact on an individual's mental health. In turn, people can develop symptoms and behaviors that are distressing to themselves or others and interfere with their social functioning and capacity to negotiate daily life. These symptoms and behaviors even require treatment for rehabilitation, even hospitalization. Even in the early stages of development and expansion, communities that have been impacted by proposals, introductions, exploration and development of coal seam gas mining have spoken out about their distressful experiences. Many of these are consistent with the government's understandings of the risks to mental health. There has been very little research on the mental health aspects of CSG at individual and community levels. The concern for our young people is of particular importance. Air pollution is also a major concern. This has been talked about quite a bit already, and I'll just mention there are reports in the literature about this risk, particularly concerns about volatile organic compounds, diesel fumes, and the production of ozone that can be created through chemical reactions in the gas production areas. Particular concerns are also arising about benzene, which is a carcinogen. Clearly, we're also concerned about the safety of fugitive methane emissions. As we've heard already, these can be both a flag that other pollutants are also escaping from the coal seam, and they also raise levels of concern about fire and explosion risks. This can and has happened where gas is being handled, and just this morning, for example, there was a report on a massive gas explosion in Wayne County in the United States, causing a fire that took firefighters hours to get under control. Thank goodness it wasn't in a residential area or a tinder dry forest. Finally, I'd just like to close with some words about our concerns about coal seam gas mining and climate change. Many of you would also be familiar with increasing research concerning the greenhouse gas footprint of coal seam gas mining and the unconventional gas industry. The evidence is certainly building that shows it is neither cleaner nor sustainable. Methane is a very powerful greenhouse gas whose influence on global warming is getting very well understood. Hence, the climate security risks of continuing on the CSG track are increasingly clear. There's no doubt at this stage in 2013 that the world's climate is changing extremely rapidly, and our vast body of scientific prediction is becoming a reality. We have already clearly felt and suffered in Australia from climate change, although to a much, much lesser extent than is being experienced in the developing world. Some words from Dr. Jim Yong Kim, the president of the World Bank Group, in the foreword of a recently released report, Turn Down the Heat, Why a Warmer World Must Be Avoided, explains this well. He says, "It is my hope that this report shocks us into action. Even if those of us already committed to fighting climate change, I hope it causes us to work with much more urgency. The report spells out what a world would be like if warmed by 4 degrees Celsius, which is what scientists almost unanimously predict by the end of the century without serious policy change." And further on, and most importantly, a 40-degree difference is so different than the current one that it comes with a high uncertainty that new rules and that threaten the ability to anticipate and plan for further adaptation needs. So in closing, I'd like us to consider now the fact that all of the health security concerns associated with coal seam gas and other unconventional gas mining that we've touched on today are also major risks in terms of our capacity to survive well and be resilient in the face of climate change. At more than any other time, there's a need for utmost protection of our water supplies, both quantity and quality, our air, our current and potential agricultural lands, our biodiversity, and perhaps very importantly, our individual and collective mental health, well-being, and social harmony. All of these basic needs are required for us to pass on to our children and build their resilience that will be required to face these challenges. Our collective challenge as a society is to do our very best in keeping to the responsibilities that was expected and outlined by our nation's first peoples. Thank you.